How have your relationships been impacted by social media? Think about that. Let it set in. And truly think about what has happened since social media has kind of came into play and taken a role. I can tell you some of the effects right now. The biggest one being that because of social media, we have way less interaction in person, face to face happenings. And what that can do is actually hurt many people in many ways. Social media is great for many aspects, and I love it. And don't get me wrong. I like being able to check on my cousins that I might not get to talk to on a regular, or, see friends, their pictures or their babies or whatever. I like that. But what's the impact of that? What's the result of social media on our socialization? I think we would all agree because of social media, we have all been able to pull back the reins, say, hey, it's not as big of a deal if I don't reach out to Cousin Joe. I seen what they were doing on social media, so we're good. But did you get to have the same interaction? Did you have that conversation? Did you enjoy the time? Social media, though it is very good, can be very hard and bad on others. If you think about the impact of the disconnect, it's going to make you really go, wow. I know that in the world that I work in, depression, being alone, feeling sad, being lonely, not having engagement with others, that's a big deal. And they're like, but I have friends, they're just online. Well, that's a problem. When we don't get out and interact with society, when we don't get out and interact with our peers, our friends, our coworkers, whoever, when we don't have the socialization that we had 25 years ago, it changes a lot of how we feel about what's happening in life. I have actually had couples that are texting each other through Facebook Messenger and wondering why their relationship is slacking or lacking. It's because they don't communicate outside of that. You live in the same house and you don't socialize. You don't embrace the time that you can actually have with the other person. Of course, you're going to feel lonely. Of course, you're going to feel that the other person does not care. Those are both going to happen, and it's going to be very valid feelings, and it will tear your relationship to shreds. What if it's not a relationship? What if went to school with your buddies and then all of a sudden you go to college and you keep in contact by social media, and you're using the Instagram and you're using the Snapchat and the TikTok and the Facebook and all the things to keep in contact and see what the world's doing. The socialization in person is good for our minds, good for our hearts, good for our souls, good for our bodies. To have the physical touch of shaking a hand, to have the ability to sit down and look eye to eye with no screen interruption is healthy for our minds. It's very daunting to think about. Kids today will never know what it's like to pick up and dial a phone. Kids today will never know what it's like to have to go to the zoo with friends to actually see what is happening, because all they have to do now is look at social media and see what their friends are doing. Today's society is deeply impacted by social media. There is a severe concern for mental health when it comes to social media. Not only the negative aspects that come from, wanting to be like others, or that, jealousy or anger or whatever it could be, but truly social media has made it to where we don't have to leave our house to see our people. It leaves people to believe that they are alone. It leaves people to believe that they have no one, because that memorable conversation and connection you have face to face does not happen when you have a general conversation on the messenger, or you have a conversation through the TikTok or whichever social media you use. There is a severe presence of disconnect when it comes to social media. Um, though social media can be positively used, because it does allow those that have severe anxiety or social anxiety to be, engaging and seeing what's happening. But that's not everybody. That's not the norm. That's going to be a problem down the road. And social media doesn't really encourage socialization. It actually hinders socialization depending on how it's used. And again, what's happening is the social interaction between two people that, get together and have lunch normally is more fulfilling. And so when people that aren't engaging in those activities, they're not engaging with their peers, they're not engaging with their families as much. You start to withdraw from others because it's easier to sit at home behind a screen. It is. It's very easy to sit at home and type away. It becomes very difficult to talk and communicate. Our normal communication skills are being hindered because we're not using them. We're not using them to the best of our I am sorry. We're not using them to the best of our abilities, Um it especially after COVID. When we have birthday parties that are happening online, it used to be that we'd get together with families and embrace the togetherness and enjoy the time and even the chaos, and we would leave feeling fulfilled. We would leave feeling that we had a sense of family, a sense of friendships. We didn't have as many people saying, I feel lonely, and it's hard because it's something that's very easy, that could be easily changed. And we're not doing that. We're not making the changes that are needed. We're not helping our situations. We're not getting the full benefits of friendships when we're sitting behind a screen. And when I say social media, let's go into the dating realm. I have so many friends using apps right now to date, and I'm like, thank goodness I'm not on that market. Thank you, Jesus, that I don't have to go to Bumble. Is it Bumble, Bumblebee, whatever, Tinder, any of those. Thank goodness I don't have to do that. Why? There is just so much that could go wrong with that, right? I don't know how many people have to get scammed or ran over for us to understand that it's not a healthy method of dating. It's not. Again, it's kind of like social media, like it's one of those things that gives us an avenue to meet and talk to people, but it does not benefit us generally. There's a slight few that get full benefit from each of these, anything that I've talked about. But overall, more people are impacted negatively from any type of social media and all the socialization apps, Discord and dating apps, all of that. There's a negative impact. It's taken away the human connection. It's taken away the ability to have a conversation that's meaningful. It's taken away the ability to interact and engage. And it's taken and increased the many cases of anxiety because we can't be around people. The anxiety because we don't know how to go out in public and see each other. I have clients that suffer because they can't even be around their family because it's too large. And in reality, it wasn't too large 30 years ago, right? It wasn't too large 15 years ago. But once we started being able to shut down and be in our own little world, in our room, at our office, on our phones, and anything else, to be able to communicate with these people, it becomes easier. Doesn't mean it's meaningful. I'll give you an example of my own. Every day I get to see William on the phone. Every day we do a video call, at least one, maybe two or three or four. Every day we get that interaction. But there is nothing that compares to being able to hug him, touch him, feel him, see him in our home, on the couch, in the kitchen, at the table, whatever. Nothing replaces that. There's no social aspect of the video call that's the same. Does it make things easier because he's not here? Does it make it easier because I only get to see him 4 to 5 days a month? Yes. But it's not the same. My soul doesn't get it rejuvenated as much as if I see him every day. My person isn't as happy. My feelings are more positive when he's in person, right? Do I love that I have the ability to talk to him? Yes. Yes, I do. It's one of the best things since sliced bread, having that availability. But on the other hand, that same thing is what is taking away from our ability to socialize and communicate and have relationships that are meaningful, and it takes away from so many people that it's hard. And the sad story is it's not even social media's fault. It's because as people, we don't have good enough boundaries to be able to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to download that app. I'm not going to be involved in that conversation. I'm going to go ahead and request a dinner date, or I'm going to go see my friends, or I'm going to go to the mall and see my friends. We, the people, create the problem. Social media didn't create the problem itself. It allowed people to create a bigger problem. And I hope that makes sense. You have a choice. You have a choice still to get out of behind the screen and put yourself in front of others. And when you do, you will see and hear this conversation in your head and say, you're right. I was sitting there today thinking about what's one of the best things that I could have this Christmas. Like what would be one of the best gifts? To not have to tell my family Merry Christmas from the phone. To not have to tell my, family Merry Christmas on social media. To be able to pick up the phone if they're not going to be here and actually have a conversation. To be able to take the ones that are near and go bowling or enjoy something together. That would be a good time. That would be a great Christmas. I think about this time and I'm like, I've had friendships that were stronger than strong. I remember getting in my car every weekend and going to see my best friend. Every weekend I would go see her. Life got a little crazy when I got married and I got into school, so that slowed down. But it's even slowed down more because every day I send her a Snapchat and she sends me a Snapchat and says, "Good morning." It's not the same. It's not the same. And it's not the same because we don't put forth the effort. Neither one of us. It's not just me, it's them too. I do say this. I work two jobs and it's hard for me to pull myself away. But if somebody's asked me to go bowling for a night, check that off. I'm going to schedule the time off work and I'm going to go. If somebody asks me to go to dinner with them and it's feasible, I'm going to check it off my schedule and I'm going to go. Because there's nothing better than that time with people, you know? And it's sad how we forget the benefits from embracing in person communication and socialization. And so I would hope what you take from this is that you have the ability to change what's going on. At this point, you might have some anxiety because you've done nothing but sit behind a screen. It might be a little nerve wracking, it might be a little scary, but you really do have the ability to make things different. You have the ability to have your relationships, no matter what they are, be different from that of just being social media. We all have to put forth the effort. We all have to make it a valiant effort to actually improve socialization. And I know there's a lot of things that have happened, that are bad, horrible, and makes the world a scary place. But I also know that if something was to happen and I was out enjoying my best life with my favorite people doing something I enjoyed, if something negative happened or something bad happened, I would at least say, well, I was able to enjoy time with my people. I was able to socialize, you know? And it's not just socialization of friends. It's socialization of, people are struggling to find work. They're struggling to find, the ability or strength to be able to step out and do things because social media has changed the way that things are. They changed the whole dynamic of what we do and how we process things and how you say things. And I'm grateful for social media in many ways, don't get me wrong. But I was talking to a client today and we both agree that it would be nice to go back to the time where you sat in the hallway with the phone that had the cord and you sat there and you talked. It would be nice to be able to go back to the moments where you didn't have to worry about what's going to happen when I see my friend. It would be nice to go back to the moments where you didn't feel alone. It would be nice to go back to the moments where socialization meant that you got a handshake and an in-person embrace. That's my thoughts. And I might be completely wrong. I don't think so, though. And I think if you really sit back and look at it and think about what I've said, you'll understand where I'm coming from. At least I hope you do. But for now, I'll end that. And I will say thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And have a great day. Bye, guys.